Hey there, and welcome to Sits and Stories. I'm Emeline, a freelance illustrator. In this series, The Writer Lens, I chat with incredible authors I had the pleasure of working with, diving into their creative journeys and the stories behind their books. Grab a warm drink, get comfy, and let's jump in. Today, I'm chatting with Vasilisa Drake, the brilliant mind behind the Forsaken Maid series and many more. Her books are all about fierce heroines, swoon-worthy romance, and moral grey characters. So if you love romantasy with a touch of spice, you're in for a treat.
So excited for the interview?
I am. And I have gone through the questions. I feel prepped, but I'm sure I'm still going to forget what I'm going to say.
It's okay. Like, take your time. It's really like a discussion, and there's like no worries.
But yeah, you went full time, you said, as like a digital artist, right?
Yeah, I'm an illustrator. Yeah.
How has that been?
It's because of you, because you share my things, and then I have like so many clients at the same time, and I was like, wow, I actually can live from it. So
it's actually been incredible, but okay. I love seeing your art come up on the Discord. Like someone was just showing sprayed edges. They want to do that. I think it's that lava landscape, and it's like they're using the background. It's like I know exactly who did that, and I love it.
Oh yeah, Katrina.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, she came back and she was like, "Can you?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course." No, yeah. So yeah, I'm so happy to have you now. Yeah, because it's really thanks to you.
Oh my gosh. No, I love it. I made the first piece you did, I made my background, and now I have like a full-on collage with like mostly your stuff, but also a few other pieces because it just like, I love it. My brain does not do this stuff, so it's like so amazing seeing it come to life.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that this is why I love like working with author, because right now I'm also working with a lot of publishers. And so I don't see so much like the impacts on people. So I also like to have like this comeback, and yeah, it's nice to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we jump into the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, first of all, thank you for joining me into this thing. Really appreciate it. And yeah, so we're gonna start about with you presenting yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what you do, and you as a person also, and as an author.
Yeah. So thank you again for having me. So I'm Vasilisa Drake. I'm a fantasy romance author who loves to write about fierce heroines and like obsessed morally gray men. I've been an indie author for several years, and I started this pen name with Forsaken Mate, which was my Romantasy debut as a serial in Kindle Vella back in about 2022. And then the book I fully released into the wild June 2023, and I haven't looked back since. So outside of writing, I live in New England, and I spend my days balancing my author life with my day job, a never-ending TBR pile, and the dishes that somehow never stay done.
Yeah, I think the TBR never ending is like for every book lovers, we always have new books, and yeah.
But like, wouldn't you be heartbroken if you suddenly had nothing to read? So it's like, you know what, as problems go.
Just like you kind of open my TBR, because I never really read a lot of independent author before. And so when I saw your work, and I was really interested, because I listened to Wed to an Obsidian Villain, I think that's the title. And so I was like, oh, maybe there's like others like that. And so now I was so like, so much new books, so much new authors I have to discover. So yeah.
Yeah.
So can you introduce to the world of your stories you created, and what are the themes or elements that define your writing and makes it uniquely yours?
Yeah. So I usually try to write enemies to lovers, except the like male main character tends to just fall first and hard, and he doesn't really do a good job with like the enemy side of things. The books are really designed kind of like for me and what I need. So with Forsaken Mate, in the Shifted Fate series, it was kind of just everything I loved in books. So it was like Greek mythology and like wolf shifters and pack dynamics and like, you know, getting to be in hell and all of the things that went with there and like training scenes. And it was just fun. What an Obsidian Villain, that was like a little novella I did with a bunch of other authors that we each wrote like a dragon shifter. And I had a rough summer, and I was like, I would really just love to be kidnapped and not have to deal with any of my problems. And that's exactly like what happens. Like the bookish heroine is sacrificed to the dragon, and then it's like, oh, he's like stealing other books for her to read. That's totally fine. So yeah, so it's kind of just meant to be fun for me. I love my books, and I love getting to share that with readers because they tend to love them too.
Yeah, I think it's that the feedback I have from most authors I've been able to speak to is like they wrote things for themselves. Because sometimes like I have like some friends that are aspiring writers, and sometimes they tell me I can't write that. Like people will not read this. And I was like, I think you need to write about what you like.
Yeah, and I think, it goes in both directions. I think you do want to set your book up for success. Like I do want to make money off of them. So I love so many things that it's more about like picking what things do I love that probably people will also love and I can make money off of. There's other things that like sometimes it's like, well, I might love it for me and it might be just a story in my head, but I'm not going to spend all these hours and like thousands of dollars on editing if I don't think that book is going to be set up for success. But I also, in a previous pen name, I tried writing purely for like money, and it was like, these are the tropes that are marketable. And I did love the books. It's hard to make a book and not love it in some way, like a child. But it's like, but I don't feel the way I do about like my fantasy romance, and they didn't sell either. I think the readers need to feel your love for the book, and then they'll love it too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I like the balance that you bring. And so can you introduce us a little bit to Savior of the Shades? And so what inspired you to bring this story to life?
Yeah. So Savior of the Shades is like the omnibus for my Shifted Fate series. It's just kind of rebranded to focus more on like the Greek mythology side versus like the wolf shifter side of Forsaken Mate. But yeah, so I wanted to make an omnibus of it just to kind of have like a nice thick book. And then it kind of was like a perfect storm where like I found this pre-made cover, which was like so perfect. It like had kind of like that nice pretty case design for foil with like Greek mythology and zodiac symbols, which were all things in the books. And I was like, wow, it's weird to have something this perfect that has nothing to do with it. And then I had just worked with you, and I actually found you through, I think it was the A Court of Silver Flames wrap cover you did. I had seen that on Tumblr, and I thought that was really pretty. And I knew you did covers. And so I was like, so Emmeline, are you free? Like, by chance. And then you were amazing and you fit me in, and it came out so beautifully.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's like when you start and you can like, oh, can you do this? And yeah, I had to move people around because I really wanted to work on your project. So yeah.
And if you had said no, I was just going to be like, okay, well, maybe sometime in the future. But then you made it happen, and I was so grateful.
Yeah, it was so like I love all about Greek mythologies and things like that. So it was like this was perfect for me to work on. It was like a mix of a lot of things I love about. So when you give me the brief, I was like, oh my God, I can do this. Like I called my sister and I was like, I'm gonna do this. So she was, yeah. This was like kind of like a family effort in a way. Give me some references.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about the story more? Can you speak us a bit more about the story?
Yeah. So we all kind of know the story where like they're fated mates. He's the alpha, like an asshole. She's like the weak shifter Omega. He's her bully. And then but it turns out they're fated mates. And so that's how the story starts, except he rejects her and then he kills her, which is not normally where the stories go. And I didn't want her to end up with him. I wanted her to end up with someone totally different. So it kind of became like a Hades and Persephone, where she is Persephone and wakes up in hell, which is kind of the underworld. And basically my character Avery, she is in hell, and it's kind of weird and it's hell, but also like she's stronger, she has new powers, and it's like weird. It's like, how do I have magic? I'm just a shifter that normally is very weak. I was the Omega. And she finds like this mysterious castle surrounded by lava. And she wanders in and she meets this guy, Cole, who has a lot of secrets, and is a little bit of an asshole, and like he'll set a demon on her to like prove like you can take care of yourself. See? And it's like, are you really gonna like die in my front yard? Like then I'm gonna have to clean up the body. That's really inconvenient for me. But he's also super protective and is like, here's a magical kitchen with like all the food you want, and I just love them. And so the whole series follows their romance.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, it's like when you started, like he killed her. It was like, wow, that's I'm glad that she kind of go away. Well, she was forcefully went away, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, and do you have a favorite character in this world?
I think it's Avery who's the main character. She cracks me up, you know. I've written the books now several years ago I wrote the first book, and I'll flip through it when I was formatting. And I'm like, I don't remember writing this, but she's funny. Like, I love her voice. Like, she is weak, but nobody's gonna tell her like, oh, just roll over and get away with it. And she's very protective, like those she loves. Like, she'll cross any line for them. So.
Oh, I like this type of character that, yeah, a very like protective side. Yeah, and what do you hope from your readers to take away from your books?
I just want them to have a good time, you know, and maybe lose a couple hours of sleep, because there is a certain like sadistic pleasure as an author when it's like, oh, I didn't get to sleep last night. And it's like, I'm so sorry, but I feel great about that. I just want them to have fun and to like have a story that gives them that emotional catharsis and like easy joy.
Yeah, okay, that's nice. So now we perhaps gonna talk more about your process and how you wrote. Do you have a specific creative routine or like ritual when you're writing?
I think for me, it really just comes down to working in writing sprints. So I'll use a lot of times, like Lyra Parrish has a YouTube channel where she has like recorded sprints where she's live streamed, and I will just put one of those on and like work through it for a few hours just to keep going.
And do you have like specific time when you're going to do this, or is it like more it's happening, like you have the creative mind and like I need to write this?
I try to be consistent. I do have a day job that does sometimes take up a lot of mental energy, which makes it a little harder to get the writing in. So a lot of times it's on weekends, sometimes it's in evenings. Now I'm on a really aggressive deadline and I'm trying to write in the mornings, which is new, but I really want the book to get out. And I think I can do any time. It's just equally hard at every time.
Can you tell us a little bit about that book?
Yes. So this was the first piece I reached out to you for. It's called A Bargain So Bloody. It's coming out this summer. And basically it follows this powerless human in a world of witches and vampires who has been sentenced to serve in a prison. And basically when it opens, she finds out she's been lied to. She's never going to be allowed to leave the prison. She thought if she worked for 15 years, they would let her free, but they're not going to. And her solution is basically to set free the most dangerous prisoner that's there, who is a evil vampire. And she's terrified of vampires. She hates them. But she's like, I'm getting out of here. So they team up, and then hijinks ensue because once they get out, instead of like going the roadway, he's like, actually, you're staying with me. And then, you know, hijinks ensue. I love this book so much. Like, I've never had this much fun in the moment writing it. And I'm on the sequel now, and I have so many scenes that I'm like, I can't wait. Like, it's everything I love about vampires.
Wow, I'm very interested by it. Like, I don't think I ever heard that type of books, like in a prison and stuff. This is so funny and so interesting at the same time. I'm very interested by it.
Yeah.
So this summer is getting out. Okay, I'm keeping that. I'm noting this in my brain. Starting and finishing a book is a lot of time, like the hardest part. Even if I have many authors saying me that no, but I have others that saying me yes. So I don't know if it's your case, but how do you tackle them?
So I think actually I'm going to be the other case. I find the middle the hardest. usually the start of the book I see very clearly in my mind. Like, I know how it starts. And a lot of times, for anyone who knows how like Forsaken Mate and Forgotten Queen end, I had those endings in mind. I love doing like a gut punch ending. I think the actual hardest thing to write is like a happy ending. Because like I love working towards the ending of a cliffhanger because it's like all the dominoes are falling into place and the words just come really fast and it's like everything comes together. But when it's like a happy ending, it's like, oh, I need to make this like satisfying and like it's expected, but it can't fall flat, but it can't end too abruptly. And I find that's the hard part about ending. But like with the middle, it's also just I need to put my butt in a chair and write.
Okay, yeah. Okay, okay. Yeah, especially like most of the happy ending I've read, it's like kind of an open ending also because we like it's the end of the story, but it's not the end of their stories, like from the character. So I can guess that it's can be kind of hard. And were there any unexpected difficulties or surprises when you work like on your books?
I think sometimes you just get stuck, and I think that's hard. But I think there are also a lot of happy surprises where like you'll get in a weird way. Like there's this one scene in the book, A Bargain So Bloody, where basically I made myself dinner one night and it really didn't look good. It tasted fine, but it looked really bad. Like it looked bad. And I was like, I think if I was like a 600-year-old vampire who hadn't ever cooked in like 6 centuries and I had to cook for the first time, this is what it would look like. So then I wrote a scene where like she's like been injured and is recovering, and then he's like, you need sustenance, human, eat. And she's like, are you trying to poison me like this? And he's like, what do you mean? Like I've cooked, you should be grateful. And I love that part of writing where it's like something just comes to you. Like I could never have found that just sitting, but because inspiration came, now is the scene that I love, and I hope the readers love too.
Oh, this is nice. Yeah. And how do you deal with those blockage? Like when you have like when you're blocked, like is there like any routine or any way you can like kind of take you out of this?
I think a few things. So sometimes it's just time. One of the best things is like getting to work it out with other people. Like I have a small critique group and we'll workshop things of like this character's motivation doesn't feel right, or I just don't know what should happen. And I really value that. That's been amazing. But sometimes it's also just like free writing, going back, rereading, like, okay, what would make the most sense for them? That's also going to be interesting for the reader.
Okay, yeah, I see. And so you were a self-published, right? And you had also a Kickstarter journey.
Yeah.
That I think have been successful quietly. Well, congratulations on this. So what was the most exciting part of running the campaign?
Honestly, getting the art, like making a pretty book. I have like the first proof copy with like the edges, and actually it has on the other side, it's not in color because I did it kind of early, but it has the art, and just like, oh my God, when it arrived, I was like in disbelief. I was so excited. So that's been amazing. And like knowing that actually like last night I was just packing boxes with my mom. I was like, okay, you're assembling, I'm signing, and getting to like prepare those to give to readers that they actually want them and they love them. And it's such a gorgeous book. It just made me really excited.
Yeah, I can't imagine to have like already like having a copy of your books, but then having kind of like a special edition of your book. It must be amazing. And what were the biggest challenges? And what advice could you give to authors considering the Kickstarter?
I would say give yourself a lot more time to prepare than you need. So I needed to do it in January for a very specific reason. I was just having a gap in publication. Part of the Kickstarter was a short story that was exclusive to an anthology. So once I get that back, I'll be publishing it on Amazon. But I thought it was going to be kind of quick. Like I had the timeline for the art for you. I had the dimensions. It was like, okay, I'll order one proof copy, it'll be perfect, and then I'll order the rest of them. And then they'll be here by like right after the campaign ends. It's going to be great. And that's not the case. There were not a lot, but more than a few issues with like the templates from the printer where like nothing would change in the book and they would change size. And I had to go back to you and also like the others when something did change. And then you have to wait for the proof to come. And then like I had a random issue with the edges in the second one that wasn't an issue the first time. So I think I find that stressful because it's like I want to give people the book immediately. I wish I had spent a bit more time and had more time to do that. But I still think it's going to turn out great. The books are going to be gorgeous. I've put in the big order. And I'm really excited by that. There's a lot of logistics involved and they do take time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, now I say it, like having like the different covers and it has this. Yeah. And how did you deal with all that? Like how did you plan and organize yourself through all this?
So I think getting the covers wasn't the hardest part because like you're incredible. And I think for the hand-drawn covers, those are the biggest variable in terms of how long they're going to take, but you're extremely reliable, which I'm very grateful for. The others I kind of had. Getting the logistics, it's been a lot of like calendar reminders, checking, emailing the company, like, hey, just wanted to make sure like what the timeline is. And I'm doing it with Book Vault, and they do have excellent customer service. So they have always been responsive and good. It takes time to sort it through these issues and like for things to ship from the UK to the US.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Wow. And why did you decide to be a self-published author?
Yeah, so I remember it was, I think my sophomore year of college. There was like a Wall Street Prep Excel weekend long seminar, and you paid $50 and you only got the $50 back if you spent 8 hours on Saturday and 8 hours on Sunday attending. And we did that, and I very quickly figured out that if I was going to have to do that for the rest of my life, I was not going to like make it. And I had seen someone post on Reddit that like, oh, they were self-publishing some romance books and they were making like side hustle money. And I went down a rabbit hole and was like, I'm going to do that. So basically, while in the front, they're like presenting on Excel, they're doing their pivot tables and their macros. I was in the back of the row, basically just like reading up and like prepping things for the first book I was going to put out.
Okay. And you never felt that maybe trying to be published by publishers, or it never came to mind?
It didn't, because I think there's merit in both. There really isn't one that's better than the other. I think a lot of times it comes down to also the book, because not a quality thing. There's just different types of books that get published by each. And I tended to like a lot of the indie books I was reading because they tend to be very focused on like the romance. I think sometimes even like, I don't even want to say that. I liked them. But I think with traditional publishing, any traditional publishing author will tell you, you're probably not going to make a living off of it. It's very hard. It's not reliable. It's slow. And if you go to indie author circles, they'll say, yeah, you can make a living on it. Like, it's not easy necessarily, but you can do it. And I wanted to make a living off my writing. It wasn't really about prestige. It was more about freedom. And I'm not there yet or anything. But I was like, okay, if that's what I want to do, then that's the route to go. And maybe one day there will be traditional publishing as well. I'd love to be hybrid, but yeah, I didn't even know about like the politics on it. I was just like, okay, indie publishing, let's go.
Okay, nice. All right. Yeah, I have several authors that kind of like you, or because you're the one who's editing your book and you don't have someone else saying like, maybe you should change this, and having that freedom also in that part. Okay, I just like to know the little path of everyone and how they end up in this. So like we said, you like doing the author part, but also the entrepreneur part also. Like I love how you manage your media. Like I think like you have an entire aesthetic and things like that. And so how do you approach like social media and book promotion, because you have a very certain way to do it, which is very efficient also.
Yeah. So I love social media as an author. As like an individual, I do not have Instagram. I didn't have Facebook until like I needed to start Facebook ads this year. I only have LinkedIn basically. So as an author, I see it as a way to promote my book. I know a lot of authors get anxious. They're like, oh, but I'm just going to be talking about my book. And that's really selfish and readers are going to get tired of hearing about me. But I don't think anyone as like a reader has ever been like, oh, you told me about a book I loved. That's kind of lame. Like, so I did a lot on TikTok, and I basically kind of learned what works. TikTok really rewards doing the same thing in a slightly different way over and over and over again, which I think as a creative person, like people tend to struggle with, but it works and it sells your books with a cost of time, but not money, which if you don't have works great. So I do that, but it's also important to not let social media like take over, and the writing still matters. You'll make the most money from writing the next book.
Mm. Yeah, okay. Because you also have like the, I know because I showed your, because I was like, oh, I'm doing that cover for this author, and my friend was like interested, and she was like, the first thing she said, she was like, wow, this is so professional. And so yeah, you also like have nice typographies, have nice templates, and even the way you presented the Kickstarter, it was very professional, very cool. So yeah, I think you're doing amazing for this part.
Thank you. And a lot of that is the magic of Canva Pro, and also leveraging like what you've created, what other artists have, and taking inspiration from other authors who had Kickstarters.
Yeah, well, you're doing amazingly. And do you have like any tips for indie authors or aspiring indie authors managing the business side of publishing?
So I would say the business side is every bit as important as the writing. I know, and part of this is why I was happy to go indie instead of trad, is I like the marketing part. To me, it's a lot of fun. It's kind of something you get to spend time on. I think you have to view your book as a product. I think a lot of authors struggle with that, but I think it's actually very healthy. So for example, if I get a 1-star review, which I get many of, and it's going to happen if your book sells, it really doesn't bother me at all, because it's a product, and it's a product some people love, hopefully a lot of people love, but some people aren't going to like, and that's okay. And when you're marketing your book, it's best to think about not what exactly is my book, but what parts of my book are easy to convey that people are going to love. So like when I'm describing like A Bargain So Bloody, there's a lot of backstory that's in the first few chapters. They're kind of these threads, and they make the book interesting when you pick it up, I think, but they're not really going to hook you if I describe that in a conversation. So I skipped over that, and I'm like, let me get to the part where she's like teaming up and breaking out of a prison, because that's going to hook you better than like, and she's technically called a void, and the magic is kind of card-based, and she works there and she catches rats. Like, it doesn't land with the marketing. So I think learning to view your book as a product and which parts you can use goes well. And also work smarter, not harder. Like basically for my social media, I make my videos in TikTok, and I reuse them. I'll post them on Facebook. I'm posting them on YouTube. I just download. If a caption works, I'll use the same caption with like one different hashtag. Don't make things hard, because like TikTok does not reward doing things that are hard, to be honest. Like you'll spend 40 minutes on a video and it'll get 200 views, and then you'll spend 2 minutes on remaking something that worked and it gets 1,000. And it's like, well, I guess that's where we are. So those would be my 2 tips.
Okay. Yeah, okay, because I had like another author just before you, actually. Yeah. Well, not today, but like in the month. And she was very struggling with the business side, because she's like, no one talked to us about this part, about the marketing, and it's a bit different because you can find some stuff online, but a book is still very different. So yeah, I wanted to have your input in that part. And so we had the joy of working together several times, and I hope a bit more.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, our biggest project for now was like the dust jacket for Savior of the Shades. So what was the vision behind the special edition, and how did you approach it to bring it to life?
So basically, once I had seen that cover and I found it could be foil, I wanted like a pretty hand-drawn cover, because I knew I had worked with you and you did amazing work. And I had also seen like your A Court of Silver Flames one that was gorgeous. I don't have like a great visual sense, so I would rather be like, Emmeline, make a cover and provide nothing, but that's not really helpful to you, so I have to do my job as well. But yeah, I wanted to like give that like underworld feel, the like kind of Persephone's magic, but also she's a warrior. And I just wanted to make a pretty book. I wish I had a better answer.
No, but I think that sums up, because more I'm working with authors, more I kind of see that sometimes some are so precise, like Katrina Bell that we're talking about. She is so precise. She knows exactly. She sent me like pictures of the pose and stuff like this. But she still let me be free. Like she's like, this is what I have, but do whatever you want. Do your magic. And sometimes I have author, like when I'm working with an author, and she just gave me like very vague indication. And once I've done like some draft, she was like, actually, no, this is not what I want, or this is not how the character looks like, and they start to change many, many things. And this is the case of many authors, actually. Yeah, so it's like, it's normal for you to be like, I don't know, I just want a pretty thing. And that's most of the people. And this is where I'm coming in and being like, no, actually, I need this information and this, and then working towards the thing. So
yeah. And I think when I got the first cover from Forsaken Mate, I worked with covers by Christian, and basically I knew he did good covers in the genre. Like I'd seen him. And honestly, the brief I sent to him was basically, the title is Forsaken Mate. The name is Vasilisa Drake. Maybe it's blue. And here's 3 covers I kind of like, one of which was one that you made. And he got it in one go. Like, I loved the cover. I would never have known how to describe it. And honestly, that was also how the rest of them went. It was like, maybe purple this time, green, blue, something like that. But this, it was like, okay, how about red and also some skulls? And he just did it. We had like the most recent cover, we did have to go back a few times because it wasn't helpful. It's like, I don't know how to tell you what I want because I have no clue, but I know you can do it. So like, you are amazing because you come here like, do you want these poses? What if we did this? I think with the first piece, it was the ballroom where like, you were like, oh, what color lighting? And I'm like, oh, blue. And you're like, okay, I'm doing that because you asked, but also here's red lighting just because. And it was gorgeous. I made it my laptop background. I'm like, she's so right. It's so much better. So, you know, I trust the artist, and I would never want to like tell you something where you know better and I've told you the wrong thing, because you know better. You're going to think about things that are never going to occur to me. And I love that. I'm happy to pay for that talent.
Yeah, sure. I think this is why it's so important to have like a little bit of the story and to have the vibe, because I went for red because I was like, well, he's a vampire, you know. I was very like another, you know, but it also depends of the feeling that you want your piece to evoke, right? So I don't know, I get it, but it's always great to, because I've worked with an author who was so precise and exactly knew, and she was not really open to other discussion. So it was this or that, and I still appreciate it to work on her piece. But it's always, what I like is when I'm working with authors is like to speak together and kind of like create something together also. And yeah, I also like to have like that part of being able to be creative fully also.
Yeah.
And so what do you look when you're like choosing an artist for a piece? Like when you have something in mind, do you have like a style in mind already, or an artist, or does it come like you're like on Instagram and you're like, oh, this is nice, I would like to have something from this person?
Yeah, I would say it's more the latter. It's okay. So the two things I look for in an artist are skill and reliability. So the skill thing I think is pretty obvious. I don't think graphically you're just going to know a lot of things to like think about and ask about details and lighting that they just aren't in my mind. I think reliability also really matters because some artists, like, they have good intentions, and some of them, they're like newer and younger. And they sometimes are overcommitted, and deadlines will pass, months will pass, and I find that stressful because sometimes it's like I need this for like a certain project or like a reveal I'm doing, and not having that art can just throw things off, and it also stresses me out. So literally when I got the piece back from you, that first one, yes, it was like that you were beautiful and like talented and skillful, but also it was like, oh my God, guys, she sends timelines, she's so organized, gave different options, like she said when the deliverables were, and I was like, I'm in love. Like everyone needs to book her now. That is a big differentiator. Just having someone who like knows how to handle that side. It's like I would pick that a million times over just because I can trust that. And I think for a collaboration, you need trust.
Yeah, it's also personally I do that for me also because I'm like, because sometimes I have like right now I'm working on 4 projects at the same time, so I'm like I need to know when I have to do the things because and telling the other person is like you need to send them that day or else you will not be like very professional. So it helps, it motivates me, but it's also for like the other person, like the client, because I know that because I also like sometimes commissioned another artist because I love their style, and I'm like, it's been like 6 months, I don't know where you are, what are you doing, where's my piece? So I also know like this needs to know, and even more because you are authors, so I know you also have like kind of like a planning behind sometimes some pieces. So yeah, I'm trying to give the timeline, and sometimes it's gonna move because life, but yeah, I'm trying to keep that ended, and I'm saying that to all my friends when they're doing commission, just set a timeline, and like the whole piece needs to be finished by then, and this way it's like it's easier for everyone, honestly. But yeah. Yeah, but you know, the first person telling me that, oh, you're sending me timelines, and even like a publisher, a big publisher I'm working with right now, they're like, this is amazing that you give us like the whole timeline. And I was like, what do you mean? Not like everyone's supposed to do that, no? And so I kind of like discovered that no, it's not just like hobbyist artists, but also professional who does that full time that doesn't give the timeline. And I'm also a very anxious person, so I'm like, I need that.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, that's a question I love to ask the people. Katrina really surprised me, so I'm gonna see if you're gonna surprise me too. But did the visuals influence you how you saw your own characters or world or stories?
So I don't really picture many things in my head. So for example, Avery has red hair in Forsaken Mate. And the reason she has red hair, sorry to any like readers who didn't want to know this, but there was a pre-made cover I bought and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And it was like one of those 3D model type people. So then I had essentially like a more discreet cover. But with that, the character had red hair. And it's like, okay, guess I'm writing a character with red hair. Yeah. Now I love having like the art. I've never had art while writing a book before. This was like the first time. So I had, like I said, the ballroom scene that you did as a background. And I loved going back to that as like a reference, but it's not in my head. Like when I'm writing, it's things happen.
All right. Okay. Okay. Because Katrina, she told me that sometimes it reminds her of a little thing that she forgot. Like, for example, the character that like under the rain and like they're their clothes, they're all wet, and sometimes she forgot this little details, and so when she looked at her art, she's like, oh right, I need to write about that. And so yeah, I thought this was very, very cute and very special. But yeah, it's nice to, yeah, I mean, I guess if you like commission the art after you wrote the story, obviously it's going to change, but I love the fact that Avery has red hair because of the pre-made. This is amazing.
And she also got like green magic because there were some green sparks, and I was like, okay. And then like the story evolved. It was like, okay, it's because she has plant magic, but in the moment, it was just green sparks.
Well, okay, well that works well. Yeah, okay, because I was wondering, yeah, for the red hair, because it makes me think about Ivy, Poison Ivy, and I was like, isn't that like a little reference to this? But no, it was not. So we're gonna talk a little bit. It's a subject that can be kind of hard for some people. It's about AI. So we're in time with a lot of AI generated art, and it's become a lot common with indie author. Like I saw a lot of them using it, and you've chosen to work with human artists. So is it something that is important to you? And if yes, why?
So I'm going to answer in two parts. I'm going to start by saying I don't pass judgments on how other people run their business unless it's like explicitly harmful, like racist, dangerous rhetoric kind of stuff. I don't pass judgment. I know cover artists, and I've worked with cover artists who use AI, not in my covers, but in others. And I'm going to continue to work with them because they do good work, and that is their decision, even if they're not using it in time. But I don't think AI can do what a human artist does. Like, there really is no comparison to me. Like AI is not going to do what you did. It can't. Like you were coming back and you were like, what other details can we include? And you were including the Hecate on the statues, like the details, like everything. You brought so much to the project of yourself. It's not like this was my brain and then it became art. You made that art, and like I provided some guidelines for what I was looking for, but the art is as much yours as it is mine in my view. So like a machine isn't going to do that. I don't see it as equivalent in any way.
Yeah, because it's going to create what you ask for, and sometimes you need more.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know what I want. I trust when I'm paying the artist, I'm not just paying for the physical creation, I'm also paying for your brain and for what you're bringing to it. So to me, and I do love commissioning artists, just also I love as a creative getting to spend my money supporting other creatives. That's another perk. But from a business mindset, I also think I am getting a better product because you are the one creating it.
Okay. All right. I like your take because most of the author I've had, they completely against AI. No judgment on people using it, because sometimes I see also like I don't have enough money or time for it, and so I kind of understand it's a new tool.
Sorry, I'm going to go back to the AI. I think it's a very hard subject because also it's so different in the creative space. In my day job, which I'm not going to share what is for privacy, we are encouraged to use AI. We're getting like weekly things on like using Copilot in Microsoft, and honestly, it is a very good tool. I can give it a 10-page research paper and have it help pull out the key endpoints, and I'll still check it. I don't trust it fully, but I do think it's a tool. As an author, I don't feel threatened by it because I think I give something to my books that a machine cannot. If I didn't think I could do that, I wouldn't be writing. It wouldn't make sense to me. So I don't find it a threat. I think it's a tool. I think it's much more dangerous in areas where like healthcare in the United States, where Congress has said AI can decide whether or not your claim is approved. That I think everyone should be against. But art is a different realm. I just don't think it can ever do what a human can do.
Yes, and I think it's also, I think it was with Katrina we were talking about that. it's the fact that there's different type of person who gonna care if it's made by a human and some others not. And especially like with the readers, we can have readers who really are about human art and having those type of products, and other people who also like the rendering, because it's AI. It's very special rendering, very flat, very specific, and some people like that, and others doesn't. And so it's also about people caring and people not caring, and who you choose to have as a reader. I don't know if it's like very clear, but yeah. Okay. And yeah, that's a question I like to ask as an illustrator, because for me, like, helping independent authors is also very important. But at the same time, as I'm a full time, I also need to eat. So I know that sometimes I'm kind of like a bit more costly than other illustrator. And so my point is, if you have like indie author with a small budget, what advice you would give to them to to work with illustrators, or simply how you would approach all the marketing part of their books, because usually it's used for that, for the covers, but also for the marketing of the book. So would you like have very specific art that you'd be like, oh, maybe like, I don't know, like portrait of the characters or things like that? Like, how would you approach it with a small budget?
I think the big thing to do is explore different options. So there's a lot of artists out there. I usually find my artists on Tumblr because that's where my fandom roots are. I have little fan blogs and I love seeing the art that comes up there. And I'll find something I like and I'll see if the person takes commissions. Sometimes out of my budget, I would never haggle and say, can you do for less? I think that's disrespectful personally if you've set your prices. But sometimes it's affordable and it's like, I'm going to get this person because this is the price they've set and it's within my budget and I'd love to have something by them. I would say I don't think of art as like, usually it's an investment. The book cover definitely was, but the art I had making previously, it makes me happy. It's going to make my readers happy. And I have decided it was worth the price I paid for that. But I don't expect explicitly I spend however much money I'll get that plus 20% back on marketing. That's not my expectation. It's more, I love this. It's fun for my readers. Fun for the artists to get, for me to get to support them. It's fun for me as an author to get to see art of my characters. But for someone who doesn't have a lot of money, I wouldn't get caught up in it. There's many, many big artists who have never commissioned art, and that you can still have a very successful career. And it's also a lot of fun to get to support our fellow creatives.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I see. Because I think I'm very curious about the whole marketing part of books, because there's so many ways to do it, and I know I'm very interested by, and I love the way you do it.
Yeah. Happy to have a whole nother conversation about book marketing. I do love it as a part of the field.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I come back to you. So we already talk about the Bloody Bargain. So this is like your new books. But do you have other projects in mind for the future?
I think that is going to be my main series. A Bargain So Bloody is the first book. Haven't figured out a title for the second one yet. I have a lot of other ideas, but I write slowly. And I can't let myself work on them for a while, but I hope I'll get to come back to them.
Okay. You said you write slowly. Like, how long does it take for you to write a book?
So, A Bargain So Bloody took almost a full year, and that was the longest I've had a book take, and I found that excruciating. Because I get bored and I'm just like, I want it to be done, but it needed a lot of revision. I wanted to write something new, which was the second book. I write about 150,000 words a year, in the average year. That's usually 2-ish books most, depending how long they are.
Oh wow, okay. For me it's not slow, but I think everyone has their standards. Yeah, that's a lot still.
It is and it isn't. It's like, I wish I wrote more because I have so many ideas I want to bring to life and I hate having to wait. And for some indie authors, they write a lot faster. And there's a reality, again, to a business. If you can put out more products, assuming the quality is the same for all of them, you have more opportunities. But also it's more, I want to tell these stories, but you have to go through them, word by word.
Yeah, it's like a long way and a long project, and and also like you have a day job, so it's not as if you were able to write all day. So I think this is so you said you were on TikTok and Instagram, Facebook also?
Yes.
Yeah. So and where do you sell your books? Like, is it through Amazon? Do you have an Etsy? How does it work?
Yeah, so all of my books are on Amazon and in Kindle Unlimited. I will be moving physical copies of them wide in the next few months. The audiobooks are also available wide, so they can be listened to on Spotify, everywhere, because I do want them to be accessible. Unfortunately, I am exclusive to Amazon for the ebooks, which is definitely not very popular at this time for good reason. But that is where I've built my audience. But I'm on social media at Vasilisa Drake Books, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, anything else that crops up, that's always my handle.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm gonna put your links so they can find you anyways. Yeah, and I forgot about that. I wanted to talk about this. The audiobook. You're the first one I interviewed that have an audiobook. Why? How do you choose your narrator? How does it work? Like, I have so many questions about that.
Yeah, so I have my audiobooks done in 2 ways. The Shifted Fate series I did through Tantor. They contacted me. Editor actually found my book on one of the Stuff Your Kindle days, and she reached out. So I sold the rights there, and I liked them because they're wide. I'll put you on Spotify, Barnes and Noble, everywhere, and you can see libraries. The novellas, I also made audiobooks. That's kind of not super popular because it can be very hard to make money on them. I make like 80 cents a sale. But I do want them to be accessible. I know there's a lot of readers who will only read by listening. So since it was money I felt I had access in my business, I was willing to spend that on accessibility. I also have for my main series, and will also make for the novellas, large print versions, which don't really sell. But again, I want my books to be accessible, and there's some readers who can only read large print. So that's something important to me. For the ones I produced, I worked with Alyssa at CCR Studios, and she was great to take care of everything. I was like, I kind of want this in voices. She came back with auditions, and she was amazing to work with. She sets timelines, she took care of things, and then she sent me the files with instructions. Here's how you upload them, and it's fun. It's you get to make readers happy and give them something that they can enjoy the story in a different form.
Yeah, this is great, honestly, because I work a lot. So usually I listen to audiobooks while working. This way I can keep on my TBR while working, because I don't have much time at night to read. So this is nice for the large print copies also. This is so cool. Yeah. I like that approach, I think. Yeah, this is nice. Okay. I'm liking you more and more and more. I'm listening to you. It's this is nice. And I think that it is nice to know also how much you make on audiobooks, because it's true, it's not very expensive. So sometimes when I'm buying them, sometimes how much the author is actually getting paid on this?
Yeah, and that's another reason I like having my audiobooks wide. Even though Amazon pays you less money, I don't like their way of handling it. They basically set the price of your ebook, they give you 25%, and usually it's still less than 25% somehow. But that's where readers listen, and I'm more about having the book accessible to them than making the most money, I think.
And yeah, and with Amazon, there's also rights questions also with the text.
I'm not sure what I might just not know about this. I think for ebooks you have to be exclusive. Audiobooks you don't have to be exclusive, but they're always doing different shenanigans.
Yeah, it's always like it's never like clean. So this is like the question I always ask. The two next ones are the one I always close with. The first one is for aspiring self-published authors. If you have like any advice for them, what would it be?
I think the most important thing is to keep it sustainable. So that's in every route. Don't do things that you cannot sustain over time. Don't build a business on a foundation that's going to crumble. Don't feel bad you're not able to do everything. Do what works for you and be honest with yourself about what that means for you.
Okay, perfect. yeah. I think I'm gonna do another interview with you about the whole business side, because I really think it's like a question that always come back, because most of the people, like most of the writers, know how to write kind of, but they don't know how to handle the business side. And this is so the sustainability is like so important actually. Okay, and the last question, which is also one of my favorite. If you could bring one of your characters to life, who would it be and why?
So this is a hard question, but I think my pick is going to be Cole, who's the hero and savior of the Shades, because I would like the King of the Underworld to be my personal trainer and also like a pet wolf in one. And that I don't know that he would like that, so I might die for that, but that would be my pick.
No, but I get the idea of the pet wolf, because sometimes I'm like, you don't need to have a dog. You have it at home already. Okay. Well, this is all I have for question for you. Do you want to add anything? Talk about anything?
I think that's it, but thank you so much for having me. This was a ton of fun. I've never done something like this before. So yeah, thank you, and I hope to get to work with you again in the future soon.
I hope so. Thank you, for joining me. Like, this was like a crazy idea. I was like at home at Christmas and was like, what if I was doing this? And then you said yes, and I was like, oh my god, this is great. So thank you so much for joining me in this. Yes, and hopefully I want to work with you again. Your project is always so cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, I will let you go. Have a wonderful weekend. And yeah, talk soon.
Yes, talk soon. Bye.